Coming up on Full Cycle, disaster for Aussie Richie Porte, but he's already looking to 2018.
I'm lucky also that I I've come away with the injuries that I have.
Oh! Massive crash in the rocks! The mountain bikers were also on the rocks, but they love that stuff. And two of Australia's cycling greats go head-to-head, looking to relive past glory. Hello and welcome to Subaru Full Cycle in a week that has left Australian cycling fans absolutely gutted with what we saw over at the Tour de France. So let's get straight into it. Welcome to the show, Pat Shaw. Former teammate of yours, Richie Porte, had some really big issues over at the Tour.
Well, he did, and we had all the hopes. We knew he had the chances to win this year's Tour, and I really, truly believed it, and it was heartbreaking to see him crash down the descent of Montouchet.
Every time they went uphill, Richie was really strong. He was going on the attack, but obviously it was on the descent, running towards the finish where we saw this, just terrible,
72.4 kilometres an hour was his last reported speed before he actually fell off the bike, Scott. He's propelled himself across the road. He's lucky to be alive. And above all else, that's what we can be glad about, that he will contest the 2018 Tour de France. Because it could have easily ended a lot worse.
Well, I did say before the Tour, in an article in The Guardian actually, where I think the biggest challenge for Richie is the descending, because his climbing's fantastic, his time trialling is awesome, and really, unfortunately, I feel bad that I said it beforehand, but yeah, it was the descent where he went down, locked up the back wheel.
Yeah, he did, and it was a technical thing, but I don't agree 100% with that, because he descended in the Dauphiné perfectly down there, and I just think the confidence maybe was a bit high. And unfortunately, when it's the Tour de France, there's no room for errors. And sometimes you get away with it. They had early crashes in the Tour, got away with it, but he doesn't get away with this one. But his spirits are high, and I think that's the important thing.
His spirits certainly are high, and his team media manager actually sent through this interview earlier in the week from Richie in hospital.
Yeah, obviously, I felt much better than what I do right now. I mean, a fair bit of pain, and it's a big disappointment, to be honest. I think I was in great form, and the team were really strong around me as well. So yeah, it's disappointing, but I think after seeing the crash, I'm lucky also that I walked away. I've come away with the injuries that I have.
Well, it's typical of Richie to take the positives out of what was a terrible situation, and he's already looking towards next year.
And I think it's important to point out that he has made huge progress already in the coming days. He's back home. He's still in hospital, but he's got a tremendous view. He has sent out tweets showing us that beautiful view, but the food hasn't got much better in the hospital.
Well, the other big talking point of the last couple of days, of course, was Chris Froome having a mechanical problem and Fabio Aru attacking him while he had his arm in the air underneath the armpit, basically, and this has caused a lot of stir between about the unwritten rules of cycling and etiquette, etc. What was your take on it, Pat?
My take was it's cycling, it's the Tour de France, and if Fabio Aru needs to take a few of those sneaky moves, then he's going to have to. Once he wins the Tour de France, if he does, well, it'll all be forgotten about anyways. But it's hard to see that that's actually a mechanical that Froome has the issue with. When he puts his hand in the air, a lot of riders would interpret that as him asking for his team vehicle. So I'm not 100% sure that Fabio Aru did it on purpose, but he probably did.
All the experts, all the armchair experts, plenty of time to go back and think about it and look at the footage, but when you're in the heat of battle, you're really not too sure. Although, this kind of added to the whole conspiracy between them. You look at Chris Froome in the yellow, putting what looked like a shoulder charge into Aru once he did get back into the group.
Yeah, well, it looks like that indeed, but then he takes a while here and says, oh, you know what, I'm actually sorry. I'm on live cameras. I'm actually sorry. I'm not so sure. I'm not buying into this being an accident, but I really think that it's water under the bridge now, and the Tour will get on with this massive GC battle, and it's just a small amount of time that separates those two at the top of the general classification.
There's been so much controversy in this year's Tour de France, and Nacer Bouhanni, who's known, very well known for fisticuffs and fighting it. Just on the left-hand side of the shot there, you can see Jack Bauer in the blue with the white helmet. Just sort of bumps into Bouhanni in the red with the black helmet, and he retaliates with a punch into the ribs. and that cost him 200 Swiss francs, relegated to last position.
Knowing Jack Bauer myself, I would say he probably was just trying to stir him up, and he got the reaction he wanted. Buani's been nothing in this Tour de France, and I don't see him getting any more results either. I think he's off the chain. I think he's just lost it all, and Cofidis will be looking to take him off their books, I think.
Well, Jack Bauer, of course, the Kiwi, riding for the Quick Step team, would be very happy with his sprinter. Marcel Kittel in stage 11 come away with another victory. Let's have a look at the action. Incredible footage, as we always see. And there was the man, full of confidence in green. He was going for his 5th stage win. Alberto Contador is still having a shocker, having touched down. He's lost a bit of time in the overall classification, probably the end of Alberto Contador. And Kittel, he can come from anywhere. It doesn't matter where he is in the peloton, 10 back, 5 back, 12 back, he just comes through and blasts everyone.
Confidence is a huge thing. Kittel's got it. Groenewegen is also growing in confidence too. I think he'll be very hard to beat on Champs-Élysées. But it looks like Kittel's the one to beat. If Michael Matthews can just keep nudging away at the points, though, we don't know. We saw Arnaud Demar. He got time cut out of a mountain stage. Could happen to Kittel too.
Certainly could. Chris Froome, of course, still leads, but it's only a narrow margin, 18 seconds over Fabio Aru. And, of course, they're going into the mountains again, into the Pyrenees. So we're really looking forward to what happens these next couple of big stages.
Certainly are, and I think that probably stages 13, 14 and 15 can suit Michael Matthews. Maybe he can take a stage victory and get us Aussies back re-inspired.
Well, you mentioned Michael Matthews, of course. Now, what we have noticed with Michael, he's not a pure sprinter in those fastest stages, and often he's been coming from too far back. Let's go back and have a look at stage 3 in particular. It was an uphill finish, and there's Michael right down the bottom of the screen there. Look how far he is behind and almost comes up for the stage win. This has been consistent with Michael, which is really unfortunate. But as we say, look, he's sitting in 2nd position in the green jersey competition. So Marcel Kittel, it looks like he's got it wrapped up, but with so many sprinters already out of the race, he just really needs to stay in contention and hope that Marcel falls over.
Well, important also to realise that although Michael Matthews is really fast, and a lot of people think that he's a pure sprinter, he definitely is not, is he? He has that punchy sprint, he's classics rider, he can time trial, and now we've seen him also climb, where he went along with 4 of his teammates and took out the intermediate sprint in the stage 9, where unfortunately Richie Porte crashed out.
It looks unlikely that he could get the green jersey, but yeah, as we say, if Marcel Kittel doesn't get through the mountain stages or has a crash, then he could be lying there in waiting to pick up the green jersey. But don't go away. Make sure you stick around as well, because after the break, your old teammate, actually, Robbie Hucker, comes in to have a chat. Welcome back to Subaru Full Cycle. Now the Subaru National Road Series kicks off at the end of the month, and one of the riders, especially certainly one of the teams that is really going to play a big role, is Robbie Hucker. Robbie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
And you've just come back from Europe as well, so you must have been good to get some sunshine, considering how cold it's been back here in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been back about a week now, so yeah, some really good racing over there, and the team's had some big success over there. So it was, but it's the same vote. It's good to be home.
Now, is the European trip more about preparing for the National Road Series, or actually really just trying to give you guys some exposure to Europe and maybe go on to the pro ranks? Yeah,
that's it. So there's a bit of a break in the Australian racing. So Andrew does his best to outsource some racing for us, and some top quality racing at that too. So it's really good.
Well, Tour of Hungary, you guys were there for the international tour there. Fantastic effort by the team, and how'd you find it?
Yeah, really good tour actually. So this was our last tour before we came home, and 2 stage wins, and this was on the last day into Budapest here. So the team just had a cracker of a day this last day. Like, it was probably the best stage of the tour I've been a part of.
That is Scott Sunderland picking up the stage win. Won the prologue time trial as well. But look, come on, pump up your own tyres. You finished 4th overall in this tour, European tour. That's great.
Yeah, I was a bit unexpected, to be honest, being such a flat tour. But I missed out on the podium by a second. I had to finish 3rd on that last day. I finished 4th by half a wheel, which was in a bunch sprint too, which is not my forte. But yeah, can't be too unhappy.
But an excellent effort, and you've got to lay it all on the line. Half the team was staying in Belgium, though. Is that what you split the team in half?
Yeah, split the team in half. So we came from France to help Scotty in the flat tour, which was quite strange actually. So coming from the hilly tours, into Hungary, flat tour, leading out Scotty was a pretty cool experience.
Now, in Belgium, we've got some photos of what really happens behind the scenes in Belgium. There's lots of gambling on the Kermesse races in particular, but it's also a place very popular for its beer, with the riders drinking too much because, what's it like at these Kermesse races?
Yeah, I can't say if they're drinking too much beer or not, but they're certainly racing well. But it's like an AFL Grand Final every day of the week. Like, it's just the atmosphere there for a Tuesday night, Wednesday night is just unbelievable.
It's exactly like that, isn't it? It's like you go to the footy here and you have a beer and a pie, and over there you go to the bike race and you have beer and chips, basically.
All muscles, yeah. And we saw that with Michael Freeberg. Got a big win at the Pro Kermesse the other night, and it was the Muscle Festival.
Yeah, it was. Certainly. That's his second win over there in the Pro Kermesse, which is... they probably don't get enough recognition as they should, those Pro Kermesses. Like, there's a lot of World Tour guys there and very hard racing.
Oh, so much focus on races like the Tour de France, of course. Now, last year you went and won the Tour of Taiwan. We've got some incredible footage of just how steep the climb was that you won the stage and went on to win overall. That's steeper than any climb at the Tour de France.
Yeah, well and truly.
Talk it.
Far harder.
That was at the top of the finish of the last stage. So top of 7 kilometre climb, and then they threw that in at us, which was a bit of a surprise. We didn't know too much about it, so it was a shock.
Now, you're going for the Tour win here, Robbie. Like, it's all on the line. What are you thinking in these moments? And do you have your DS in your ear, Andrew Christie Johnson?
Yeah, he was in my ear, so I knew I was probably going to a pretty good chance at the stage. But then the GC was on the line, so I had to push right to the line for every second.
Yeah, and then what's the sensations you're feeling? What are the emotions coming into those finals? That's what we all want to know.
Yeah, it's something you can't describe. Winning a bike race like that, to win the stage is fantastic. But then I didn't know until probably 10 minutes after that the stage that I'd won the Tour, which was just, it was amazing.
Long wait, 10 minutes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, the Subaru National Road Series is kicking off again. They've only had one race for the men this year, which was the Grafton to Inverell, which, of course, your teammate Neil van der Ploeg won.
Yep.
So, you were in this race as well. Pretty tough race, very long.
Very tough, yeah. It's just what is it, 260 odd K. Brutal stage, brutal climb up Gibraltar Range there, and some tough weather as well was thrown in on the day.
We spoke about it when Neil was on the show talking about this particular race. It's brutal in that the Gibraltar Range climb is very long, but there's no descent. You just climb up to a plateau. It's quite unfair for the riders to not get a descent after such a long climb. But Neil got the win, which of course put him in the lead of the National Road Series. We can have a look at the dates that are coming up. So the best part of the Australian domestic season is yet to come. The next one, of course, is the Tour of the Great South Coast, July 26 to 30, which is a pretty tough race. And these are the races that you're now focusing on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've come straight back from Europe, and it's a big goal for the team, the NRS, National Road Series. So, we can't wait to crack onto it.
The Great South Coast, what are you expecting? We know that the conditions get really, really nasty. We can look at some stuff from last year. You can just tell how windy it is.
Always brutal weather. You're going to get everything, aren't you, Robbie?
Yeah. Some of the coldest days on the bike I've ever had have been in this race, so tough racing.
And you see emerging talents, like that was Alex Porter, who's gone on to be world champion in the team pursuit. So lots of emerging talent coming through our National Road Series, which is always good to see.
Yeah, that's right. It's pretty good racing. Like we race overseas and we race in all these Asia and Europe and stuff, but to come home and race on the home roads and have such quality racing is great.
Yeah, and look quite scenic as well. You can see that nice and lush and green because it's the middle of winter down there. Tough racing. Here's another one, Stannard, young lad that's really part of our national program and going forward. Now, you said how hard this race is. Is it because, Pat, you're on the podium because you finished third there last year? So it's an incredibly tough race.
No, it's always a tough race. And last year, freezing cold stage in Mount Gambier, as Robbie will never forget. We all was freezing cold. But I wish you all the best in the NRS and the team as well, Robbie.
Yeah, thanks, Pat.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, good luck for the rest of the season for you and the rest of the team. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me.
And after the break, we join you, Scott, and your lovely family on a cycling getaway to the town of Bright in Victoria.
As a family, we really do enjoy getting ourselves up here to the Alpine region and just coming together. It really is an opportunity to slow down and forget about racing and just come together as a family and enjoy the great outdoors and riding bikes.
For me, I've just got a beautiful feeling here. There's something that just resonates with me. I just feel peaceful. As soon as we drive into Bright, it's just relaxes me, and we're all so busy at home all the time, but when we're here, we completely wind down. We actually, as a family, call it our happy place.
The Sydney Olympics were such a long time ago, but in some ways it seems like it was only a couple of weeks ago. Yet it was somewhat tainted because we had some personal issues in the lead up to it by losing our newborn son, which made it very, very difficult in the lead up to the Games. So there were real highs and lows around winning in Sydney. It was amazing to win, but it was also a very heartbreaking moment to have lost a child in the lead up to. A family that rides together stays together. Unless when
Stop that. That's really corny. Don't say that.
All right.
So I'm hooked on the convenience of the motorhome now. The fact that you can just pack your clothes straight into the cupboards from home, put everything in there, you're set. So when you get to your destination, you just jump into bed, go to sleep, everything's there, get up. There's no unpacking your clothes into the cupboards. Then if you just want to go somewhere during the day, you just take off in the motorhome and come back. There's not a lot of having to lock stuff down. Everything is stored in a way that it doesn't move around.
If I was to give some advice to people looking to go out and explore on the bike, around Victoria, there are so many rail trails that are out there, which is just a perfect introduction to families in particular. And I've seen it over the years when people dip their toe into the water of cycling and do it at a low-key level in a very easy way on the rail trails. So look, I think something like the use of a motorhome is the absolute very best. I think that's the ultimate way to explore the rail trails and the roads of Victoria and the rest of Australia as well.
Bright, it's a beautiful place in Australia and I love it too. But it shows the cultural change too, Scott. It's lovely you get away with your family and enjoy cycling, which means so much to you as a family, but also spend time together in the confines of the motorhome.
Absolutely, and the best part was actually getting my 14-year-old daughter on camera. So she's going to be on national television. She's going to be so embarrassed by that one. But yeah, it was a good place to be.
She might be the fan favourite at school when they go back after the holidays.
Absolutely. Well, lots of mountain biking gets done up in Bright, of course, and also over at Mount Beauty. But the downhillers were at it again over in Lenzerheide for the World Cup. A couple of big stacks in the rock garden. Back to back, these guys actually were seated 13th and 14th. Both went down. Troy Brosnan, of course, who's absolutely flying, the South Australian, just missed the win this time. He came through and was only less than 0.2 of a second behind, which is extraordinary. Second place for him. Only one rider still to come down, which is Aaron Gwynn. And for Aaron, he had no chance, because have a look at his back wheel.
Well, I didn't know that they ran a tube in the mountain bike downhill series, but that shows you my knowledge of the technicalities. I'm too scared to do that stuff, Scott.
He wasn't running a tube in his back wheel.
No, well, he wasn't. He was on the side of the bike. But I've always said it, I can't understand that side of the sport. I love it, the awe of it, but it's not for me.
They're absolutely crazy, that's for sure. Now, in the women's competition, Tracy Hanna has been absolutely flying. Fourth on this occasion, so still in the mix, really right up there. And fourth was good enough to put her in the lead of the World Cup overall, which is fantastic.
Well, two Australians in the men's and the women's lead the downhill World Cup. That's got to be a first. I'm not sure about that, but it's amazing. It shows the spread of the skill set of Australian riders.
Really does. Now, the French woman, Miriam Nicole, was the winner, back-to-back for her, so she won the last two rounds, so she's in good form as well. But of course, look, with two Australians leading the Downhill World Cup, men and women, that is fantastic ahead of the World Championships in Cairns on Tracy's home track. So really looking forward to that one coming up.
Well, the confidence has got to be sky high for her. She's still up there. She now leads the series, which is really important for her confidence, but she's got to get over this French lady. She's really coming on to form at the right time.
She is. Now, something very different to that, of course, was the Giro Rosa, or the Tour of Italy for the women. Amanda Spratt put in a fantastic performance, and we hear from her now.
Hey everyone, greetings from my couch in Europe as I recover from the Giro. What a 10 days for the Orica Scott team. We got 2 stage wins, third overall with Annemiek van Vleuten. For me personally, it was a great week. I think I exceeded most of my expectations. It's the first time I've really targeted, a Grand Tour for us, a 10-day tour. I found it physically and mentally very stressful. You know, normally I've always snuck in an easy day on that time trial, but really happy with the way it all went. I picked up 5th overall, and I think to carry the form through into that final stage where I got second in a really close sprint with just 6 riders, really happy with that. I've been climbing with the best here, and I think I'm definitely in the form of my life at the moment.
Well done to Spratty. Now after the break, we catch up with Cadel Evans and Hugh Jackman. Welcome back to Subaru Full Cycle. Now, while all the focus has been on the Tour de France, another young Aussie has done very well over at the Tour of Austria. Former teammate of yours, Pat Shaw, Ben O'Connor, come up with a stage win.
As a Neo-Pro, what a great victory. He's been fantastic for his Dimension Data team all year and was probably single-handedly made Edvard Busenhagen win Tour of Norway earlier in the year as well. So I'm very, very happy for him.
21 years of age, so he's well on his way. That's a great result. Tour of Austria is a big event, that's for sure. Now, another big event that comes up every January now is the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race, and Cadel himself popped back from Europe to launch next year's event. Cadel Evans made a quick dash back from the Tour de France to join Chairman of Cycling Australia Steve Bracks and another cycling great, Phil Anderson, to launch the 2018 edition of his own event, the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race. And just for a bit of fun, Cadel and Phil went head-to-head up Chalumbra Avenue, the most decisive point on the course. To no surprise, it was the younger legs that prevailed.
2018, of course, we have the men's World Tour race again, and the women's race is going to be lifted up a level. So we're going to have a bigger, more international women's field as well, and hopefully the Victorian weather will be friendly to us again, as it was in 2017, and we can have a bigger and better weekend than we've ever had before.
The second time up, Phil was closer, but they'll both be happy just to spectate the event next January. Now, you're travelling okay to have a World Tour race named after yourself, but Pat, this one always does throw up an interesting winner.
Particularly because of the difficulty of Chalumbra Avenue, but this year, should I say, Nikias Arndt from Sunweb, no one even spoke about him and he won. I think Phil Anderson might be making a comeback.
I think you think wrong. There's no way that's going to happen. But the hill itself, that's the King of the Mountain point. It is really, really steep. What's the atmosphere like? You were commentating from that position this year.
It's amazing, the big screen TV up there, and the crowd is just shouting as if it's a finish line, and the riders really push it all the way over the top because of that urge from the crowd.
Speaking of urges, actually, Orica Scott have been urging Hugh Jackman to come over to one of the races and hang out with them. They want a big-name celebrity to come there just to put in their backstage pass. And finally, after really pushing for a long time, he's come back on Twitter to tell them that he's getting ready for next year's Giro.
Just a set of carbons and a skin suit away from the Giro d'Italia, Scott.
Might need to do something about that bike as well. I might have borrowed that from his sister, perhaps.
Well, he might have, but I can tell you what, if he's supporting Orica Scott, they're definitely going to get him on that bus at some stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see he's on board, that's for sure. Make sure you check us out on Twitter and Facebook as well, Full Cycle TV, of course. And Pat, thanks so much for coming on board again.
No worries, I've got a big one for you, though. Fabio Aru to win the Tour de France.
Ooh, over Chris Froome. Well, that's a big one from Pat Shaw. We'll have to wait another week to find out for sure. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week. We'll leave you with the fantastic scenery from the Tour de France that we love.
Was an architect.